Welcome back. If you're just joining us, you are onto the situation room of the ECOWAS Parliament, where we take time to discuss the issues that emanate from the second ordinary session of the fourth legislature of the West African Parliament. I have in the studio Mr. Joseph Orok from Nigerian Television Authority.
NT International.
NT International. You're welcome.
Yeah.
And also have Victoria Ojeme. Victoria Ojeme writes for the Vanguard newspapers. Gentlemen, you're welcome.
Thank you.
Now, we have been talking about the second ordinary session of the West African legislature, where in the last 2 weeks, so many issues have dominated discourse in the parliament, and some very, very critical ones. We talked about issues concerning the migration problem, especially when it concerns the issue of slavery that have just been unearthed in the troubled North African country of Libya, and it has continued. Victoria, I start with you. Recently, of course, you have seen the parliamentary session of the ECOWAS Parliament over the issue. And the Parliament also hosted the President of Senegal, Macky Sall, here, who talked so passionately against what has happened in Libya and the measures that the parliamentarians of the West Africa are trying to put in place to ensure that such ugly developments do not happen again in West Africa. What is your take on that?
Yes, when you talk about migration, to me, I saw it as African leaders never rise up on time for the issue, because the issue, this is something that has been going on for a very long time, and not much, even during this period of this parliamentarian was going on. We expect them to at least speak much more on it, but it wasn't much more discussed at the section. But I feel many of the African leaders would have discussed this issue more within themselves, and even creating awareness that, look, that this issue is a critical issue and we just need to handle it in our own way, in our own different countries, not necessarily waiting for other countries to come together. That is the way I look at it.
Now, Mr. Orok, do you share her thoughts on this very troubling issue of slavery in Libya? Yeah,
troubling issue indeed, and it's something that's, in fact, apart from the regional aspect of it and the regional way of taking the matter on hand, the Parliament needs to do even more than what they are doing. In terms of this session, they've been able to create a committee to go into fact-finding of whatsoever must have happened within Libya. But it's beyond that, because the issue is not very new. Again, in as much as we have the right to blame Libya for the actions they have taken, the parliament, as a regional parliament, needs to be able to send signals to the national parliament, so that from the national parliament the issue will be properly highlighted. Because there are a lot of things that, lead to the movement of people to other countries. In Nigeria, for instance, and I'm sure with many other West African countries, infrastructural facilities, poverty, and all that. All those made people to be going out in the name of seeking for greener pastures. But you see, if there is proper enlightenment and the presidents of individual countries within West Africa are made to really understand the real causes of why people are moving, then maybe they will get to know that they need to provide certain economic facilities in their countries, provide infrastructures, provide job. There is no job, and when people don't have jobs, that's where they are tempted to imagine that it's better outside their country. And this is why people have been going out of Nigeria, for instance, and most African countries. imagine the routes they take to even get out of Nigeria, for instance. Very horrible, very horrible routes. And for people to dare to be going into those kind of engagements, again, being either supported by their parents in most cases, because most times their parents, out of ignorance, also believe that when they go out, they will.
Is it just out of ignorance or out of desperation too?
Yeah, no, well, you could say with desperation because of the poverty of the parents. Poverty in the sense that it's not just financial poverty, poverty of knowledge. There is a lot of things that really cover this issue of migration. And for me, and for the parliament, even like most of the parliamentarians have been raising the issue, is about creating awareness, serious awareness that the leaders of the various countries will take it and then engineer a policy that will be effectively implemented to avoid people moving out of the countries.
Okay, Victoria, I come back to you. There are so many other issues that the ECOWAS Parliament talked about. The issue of single currency. And we're also looking at issues that concern the admission of Morocco into the West African community, as the ECOWAS. How do you see, first with the single currency, do you see any feasibility of it being a successful project?
When you talk about single currency, even the US, where we have dollars as the bigger money in this country, but there are other countries also. The euro has their own euro as well. But when you talk about single currency in African country, I think it's not going to be something that will be achievable this time, but maybe in time to come. I don't see it being achieved at this period of time, at this particular time, because single currency in African countries, I must say that it's going to be very difficult to be on single currency. It's going to be very, very difficult. And when you talk about the Morocco issue coming to join the ECOWAS, to me, when I look at Morocco, there is just no correlation between the ECOWAS and Morocco, because I think Morocco should find where they should join, not ECOWAS, and there is just no similarity about Morocco coming to join ECOWAS. I don't see any similarity at all. There's none. What are they joining ECOWAS for? Where were they? They should have a neighbor. They have neighbors around. They are not part of us, so they shouldn't join. I don't believe ECOWAS should accept Morocco. That is my own opinion.
Okay, she doesn't believe ECOWAS should accept Morocco. Well, Mr. Joseph,
maybe I will just start from there. The ECOWAS Parliament is a parliament, or ECOWAS is made up of 15 countries of West African countries. When you talk about Morocco, Morocco is from the Northern Africa. So that's their bloc. There is no debate over that. Whatsoever we're getting to here is politics. It's just a matter of politics, even within Nigeria, by some of us. And ECOWAS parliaments should not even debate on that. Debates. When I mean debates, it means there should be no forum for this one to talk against or talk for. All is that no relationship at all. That's just how that goes. Because we are talking about regional organizations now. ECOWAS is just for the West African country. If we want to talk about Morocco, yes, there's in Northern Africa. There are other Northern African countries. Fine, it could form a region there.
Okay, do you believe that the single policy, the
currency issue is not as if it's a difficult thing. It's not about it's a difficult thing. You see, the whole thing is the whole thing about ECOWAS, for instance, it's just about the ECOWAS community and the people understanding what ECOWAS means. It's just about interaction between West African countries. And so if people really understand it to that limit, politics should be thrown away. When politics is thrown away, then we will now know that using one currency is a very simple thing. But it will not be, because that is when you will not think of Naira. I don't know where I understand, because that is when other West African countries will bring the issues. So it should be a different name totally. That's when it will become very simple to get. Because if, for instance, like Nigeria, one of the biggest countries in West Africa, if not in Africa, you know, if we want to go by even the support given to ECOWAS, you want to take and say, okay, Naira should be, you know, but West African countries will not accept it. That is when the difficulty in the politics will come in. So it's not as if it's very difficult, but when politics is thrown out of it, then individual West African countries could use their money, but within the 15 countries, you could accept A as the currency for the for regional this thing, but within your countries you can use your money. You understand? That's why even like we are using dollars. We use dollars when we also want to do anything that has to do with external and all that, but we are still using our internal Naira. So that's just it. I don't think there's so much difficulty in it. It's just about our leaders understanding it without the bias of politics.
Thank you so much. I've just had a very wonderful session with two gentlemen of the press here, Joseph Orok of Nigerian Television Authority International, NT International, and Victoria Ojeme, a senior correspondent with the Vanguard newspapers. Viewers, we are still talking about issues concerning the ECOWAS sub-region, especially as it concerned the parliamentarians in the West African sub-region. Victoria, in the course of the session, the Oxfam, the British humanitarian agency, organized a seminar here for Muslim women, and they call it gender equality, a program on gender equality. What do you take, or what do you make of that seminar on gender equality in West Africa? And what do you think are the things that are hindering West African women from, you know, making it up with the men folk?
That's a big one and very interesting. When you talk about gender inequality, gender is an African woman, or the West African women are so much more left behind, because the West African women are women who don't know their rights and their wrongs, because creating awareness to them is like causing friction between their marital home. Maybe it's as if the woman wants to be the head of the house, not even the man again. So that is what is bringing back West African women. But when you want to talk about it, because when the Oxfam came in, we heard their discussion, we heard all what they said, but there is no woman that can stand up today before her husband and start shouting and saying things. Man, the next thing you see your father and mother at home coming to say, okay, I don't want the woman again, she has gone beyond me, she has gone beyond control, let her move her things, and except she knows, recognize me as the husband before she will stay here, and all the rest. So when you talk about that, I think it is very difficult for African women to be liberalized, or to be out of that cage. I call it a cage, because it's a cage in the sense that women in Africa, or West African women, find it difficult to express themselves. When you talk about politics, the men attend political meetings 2 a.m. The men attend political meetings 1 a.m., 3 a.m. How many women politicians can attend such meetings when the husband is at home? Man, you can't attend such a meeting, because definitely you have to take permission, you have to take care of your children, you have to take care of the man, the husband, you have to take care of so many house things around you. So it is difficult for African women, or for West African women, to achieve that goal, or to come out of that target the Oxfam people were talking about.
Mr. Joseph, do you share her opinion on this?
Well, you see, when we talk about, each time I personally hear of, you know, women empowerment, women equality, and all that, even just like the seminar was here at the ECOWAS Parliament, it's just funny for me, and I've never seen the women equality empowerment as a problem to me. And I don't even think it's supposed to be a problem to even West Africa. You see, the truth is that, you know, if we go by individual countries, regional basis, we're created by God. In individual countries and regional countries, they have the level at which either their culture or their civilization or enlightenment has taken them to. Now in Africa, there are certain cultures that are major hindrance to this women equality we're talking about, to women empowerment we're talking about. Let's take, for instance, if we want to talk about, we want to say Nigeria, for instance, we'll be looking at Nigeria holistically. But within Nigeria, are we not aware of the cultures that are of serious impediment to women? Religion is an impediment to women. There are religions that women do not even sit like this. You are aware of those cultures. There are religions that women do not even worship together with a man. So that's where people get it very wrong and make it look very difficult, because these are the hindrance. It's not as if the men generally, like in Nigeria for instance, because most of the West African countries almost have the same cultures and traditions. It's not as if the men are the one holding the women back. No, don't go out, don't do this and all that. Yes, like she said, naturally God had created the men and women differently, and clearly that the man is the head of the family. Now when you have that in a traditional setting like Nigeria, how do you want the women to operate and to get the equality? No, I don't think even for us that are Christians, biblically, Bible has never said that. Okay. Bible said that a woman should be submissive.
Okay, let me hold.
So let us not go into that equality.
Our time is fleeting, and I think we'll have to come to the end of this particular session. We have been having a very great discussion on the issues that have emanated from the Parliament of the Economic Community of West African States.
Yeah, but we've not talked about the budgets of the ECOWAS parliaments. We've not talked about that. It's very important.
It is because of our time. Maybe in the next session we'll feature it prominently.
Okay.
So we have just talked about issues bothering the community, and on behalf of our producer, Uche Duru, I remain Innocent Odo. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.